Hi everyone, welcome back to If My Heart Had Wings, Amane's Route, episode 9. So, in episode 8, we had some pretty big revelations about what happened with Isuka and to a smaller extent, Tobioka-sensei. So, they found a time capsule in the Flying Fish Manor, and it had a letter addressed to Amane's future self, which is now, and it was from Isuka. And then we had a little confrontation with Tobioka-sensei, who was mad that the Soaring Club is still up and running. And then when they brought the information to Tatsuya, he mentioned that, well, Tobioka-sensei was never like this before. And it also revealed that Amane was not supposed to be a student at the Flying Fish Manor because she's really smart. And I think the faculty and Tobioka-sensei felt that the Soaring Club really brought Amane down. It's like, well, she could be using her intellect for something even more grand, so go to a university, become a professor, and come up with some next generation, some great invention. But because of her interest in the Soaring Club, Amane threw that all away and now went to gliders and now the windmill, which is not what you would expect for someone that's born of a genius. So anyways, let's see what Aoi has to talk about with Amane. So he went to the garage.
なぜだと思う?
Well, I don't know. And it is weird. So the flight log was also hidden in Kotori's room. So maybe she just did it on a whim. It doesn't mean anything.
かもしれないな.
So we're talking about the kind of person to hide Amane's glasses here. Oh, so the download is also done. She turns off the computer. So let's go home. So everyone is worried. So put the picture frame back on the desk. Okay, so what happened next? So tie it down right so it does not blow away. So after the flight test, we didn't put the glider in the trailer. We just left it there and put a sheeter on it. So we don't take the glider apart. We just leave it here like this and go home.
いよいよ合宿が始まるんですね.
So Asa's eyes are shining.
合宿って言っても当番決めて早起きするだけだけどね。でもワクワクします。
And it is quite exciting.
わかるわ、その気持ち。私も去年の夏はそうだったもの。
So Kotori looks at the sunset. And we start the training camp today. So the morning glory will appear at the end of summer and around the end of August or the beginning of September. So we leave the glider here, and a person on duty who wakes up early to watch the sky before sunrise to look for any signs of and be able to fly as soon as possible. So I think they're going to the, someone watches the sky to see if there's any signs of morning glory coming. So the conditions like a drop in temp, purple sky. I forgot the requirements, but... So these are very unusual feelings for us. We are very excited.
滑走路続けて使えることになってよかったよね。あまねちゃんのおかげよ。ね、あまねちゃん。
Well, it's thanks to you, Amane.
私は別に何もしてないぞ。
But I didn't do anything. She said checking the moorings on or of the body.
ただ先方に頼みに行っただけだ。
So the other day, Tobioka-sensei banned the use of the runway, but before long, we got permission to use it again. So apparently he lied about, well, the owner says no. And when Amane checked with the owners, like, Well, you can use it if you want. So Tobioka-sensei threatens us, saying, well, if something happens, it's your fault for letting them use it. So okay, go ahead, but we're not gonna take the liability for it. So Amane got permission from the school, and she promised she'd take responsibility if something goes wrong. So they are confused, but some of them are also the OB from the Soaring Club. And they are on our side.
でも学校側があっさりこっちの言い分を認めたのってやっぱり天音先輩だからですよ。さすが大物は違うわね。天音ちゃんを引っ張り込んでおいて正解だったわ。
Hey, don't be smiling like you're up to something. But she was looking at us and smiling with sadness. Or maybe she feels uncomfortable to be treated like she's special.
でもそれだとあの飛岡って先生のメンツ丸つぶれなんじゃ。確かにいつも学校じゃ大きな顔してるのにあっさり覆されたんじゃ相当カリカリきてるかも。
Well, we don't want to argue with her, but we just don't feel comfortable because she pokes her nose in our business. So Kotori stared at the glider covered with the sheet. So what's wrong, Kotori?
グライダーここに置いておいて飛岡に壊されちゃったりしないかしら。
So is he going to break it?
いやさすがにそこまでは。
Well, probably not.
逆恨みによる一時的感情の爆発が起こるかも。やっぱり持って帰った方が。移動と組み立てに時間かかりすぎるし、そしたらモーニンググローリーが来た時フライトのタイミングを逃しちゃうよ。それにガレージに置いてても同じことじゃないかしら。飛岡先生もガレージの鍵使えるもんね。
So even if we put it in the garage, it won't help because Tobioka-sensei can access the garage.
そっか。
So I don't think he'll do it. Hey, so more importantly, I'm hungry, so let's go back and have dinner. So everyone leaves filled with anxiety.
奴らまだ戻ってきていないのか。
And it looks like the teacher's waiting for them in the garage. Well, there's nobody in the garage and the glider is gone. So they must be still at the runway.
まったく勝手なことばかりしよって。
So I tried to close the runway and put obstacles in their path, but it was no use. So Mochizuki is the chairman's favorite. And the other teachers expect a lot from her. So she might be able to make Keifu Academy famous.
あいつがどんな実績を作ろうと、それはあいつのものでしかない。
So she is a genius no matter where she goes, and she'll break some sort of record. And it won't be an accomplishment of our students. I'd rather help students who are trying their hardest. And for example, I want to graduate properly.
ミサギ。
僕ちゃんと卒業したいんです。こんな体だから難しいかもだけど。
ならちゃんと授業に出ろバカ者。出席日数が足りなくなるぞ。
いやそこはほら虚弱体質だから。
トビウオ層の管理人から報告してもらってる。サボりの時とそうじゃない時くらい分かってるんだぞ。
おばあちゃんひどい。
ところでこれかぐらい。
はいそうです。これを僕たちが直して飛ぶんです。
Okay, let's see what Tobioka says.
ところで これか。グライダーっていうのは。よくもまあ、こんなもの。
So why this?
順調とは言い難いけど、でも楽しいですよ。あまねもいるし。
望月か。あいつとお前とでは住む世界が。
こんなので空飛んで雲の上まで行っちゃうんですよ。きっとすごい体験になるんだろうな。
そうかもしれんな。
もし飛べるようになったら先生も乗せてあげますね。
So they're overstepping at the bounds of club activities to scratch, build a glider, and fly the skies. So I'm sure this was the happier days of Tobioka-sensei. And if she wants to concentrate on something, she should find something else. Well, maybe she should be in the robotics club. Well, I didn't like that Isuka, Misagi, and Amane Mochizuki are getting along together. And Misagi is a wild student, and she does rather strange things. That's probably because her body is weak and she can't come to classes often, so she can't get along with others and it's isolated. So I tried to watch over her to make sure she didn't do anything too rash or irresponsible. But then Mochizuki came into her life. Amane Mochizuki. She shouldn't have come to the school like ours. So she doesn't, need to take classes. I mean, it's a waste of her time. And if she wants to learn, she can do it on her own. And I thought she just needed a certificate. But then she turned down an offer transfer for a college and stayed at her school. I didn't like her because of her. Misagi could do anything she could come up with. And it was just pranks until now, but so they tried to fix a glider by themselves and tried to fly in the sky. And then there was the accident.
そのせいで、美咲は。
So every time I think about it, I regret not stopping her. And they're trying to fly again, as high up as the clouds. Okay, so we finished our dinner early, gathered into the dining hall and talked. So we're going over the flight plan. And if Amane is right, the morning glory will appear soon. So we have to fly 2 kilometers up into the sky very early in the morning under different conditions from the usual. So can they do it? And there's a time limit. So we made a flight plan taking into account the bad conditions.
結構シビアだよね。でも他に方法がないんじゃしょうがないわ。
Yeah. So it's hard to find a thermal draft that can take us that high. Since we decided to use a mountain wave is a strong air current that comes over the mountain and takes the shape of a wave. And the wave's maximum peak is a few times higher than mountain sometimes. And we will use the mountain wave that comes over Mount Tsukubai, which lies behind the school. Well, by the way, so the mountain waves are not as an everyday occurrence, but when a morning glory appears, there is always a mountain wave present. And that's because the Tsukubai's mountain wave causes the morning glory in Kazugura. Okay, so Amane is able to come up with a reasonable explanation which leads to a good plan about how to reach up there. And that's what Amane said.
山岳波に乗ることができれば、モーニンググローリーの高さまで登ることもたやすいだろう。問題はどうやって山岳波に乗るかだ。そのローターフだっけ？それに入るのが難しいのよね。
So is it hard to ride a rotor or ride up the mountain wave? So between mountain waves, there are spinning air turbulences called rotors. And if we get into an updraft in that spinning turbulence, we can catch the mountain wave. But it's turbulent air, so it's going to be very hard.
そこは葵さんの腕にかけるしかないわね。
Well, I practiced it in the simulator. So Amane made a simulator for Mount Tsukubai's mountain waves. And of course, I don't think it's going to be just the simulator, but it's better than doing nothing.
本番はさ、あまねちゃんが後ろに乗ってね。え、何驚いた顔してんですか？そうよ、当然のことじゃない。いや、でも私はまさかここまで来て怖いとか言わないですよね。
So she looked uncomfortable.
私たちあまねちゃんに飛んでほしいの。
So Aga nods. Asa and Yori agree. And she looks at me. Well, I want to take you there.
でもみんなだって飛んでみたいんじゃないのか？
So what about everyone else?
そりゃね。でもみんな乗れるわけじゃないですし。
But
私たちはまた次の機会でいいです。ね、ヤルちゃん。
So there can only be one more person, and it's like who will be that passenger that will go with Aoi up to the morning glory? It looks like Asa will pass.
ええ、私たちまだ若いですから。
It's like, well, we can see it again in the future. That's right. So Amane is twice as old as Asa.
みんな。
So, are you over it? She nodded without confidence.
飛び岡に言われたこと気にしてるの？
So, are you doing the same thing again?
イスカは言ったんだ。そこへ行けば素晴らしいものが見られるって。イスカはそれを私にも見せてくれると言っていたんだ。見に行けばいいじゃない。きっと超感動するわよ。うんうん。あの写真の光景を生でパノラマで見られるんですから。
She smiles. But she looks sad. Well, no worries. So you think it's too hard? Take it easy.
そうかな。
Yes, so you should loosen up. Just get a little silly. Only a silly person would do something like this. So everyone laughs. So making the glider and flying... Hold on. So making a glider and flying through the sky is a very silly thing to do, but it's fun because it's silly. And if we live too serious, life will be boring. That's true.
そうか。バカか。そうだった。私はバカなんだった。
So she laughs. Okay, so while they're talking, it looks like some hurricane is coming up. So then a strong wind blew and the windows made some noise.
風が出てきたわね。
So Aga turns on the TV, and the weather report is on.
ちげえ。やばいよ。今夜から明日未明にかけて雨が降るって。
So it's just a long rain. So the TV says the clouds are coming from the west.
嘘。
but it'll sunny this afternoon. Well, it's going to rain hard, so should we put the glider inside?
そうだね。
So we decided to head back to the runway. So the wind is blowing. The sheet in front of me is fluttering. And Tobioka-sensei is here. So the glider is under the sheet. And there is an iron stake in my hand. So it's for partitioning the land. I found it over there. It's very heavy and sharp. And one hit from this in any kind of FRP would crack. So several hits and it could break. So I took off the sheet. So it looks like Tobioka-sensei is going to try to destroy the glider with the iron part that he got. The wings came into view. So a gleaming white surface, shining with moonlight. And it must have been Himegi's work. It's great work, and there are only a few students who can do this. So, based on her previous time at the Robotics Club, I know this is what she does.
この翼さえ掘ってしまえば
I swung the stake upwards.
あいつらにはまだこんな翼は必要ないんだ。巣立つには早いんだ。
So I can beat or hear my voice like it belongs to someone else. And like there is another me listening to that voice and thinking. So is this the right thing to do? They try hard to make these wings.
そんなこと見ればわかる。
So are you sure breaking these wings is your job?
今はまだ必要ないんだ。こんな翼は。
So I asked myself, and my hands and started shaking. And I put the stake down and thought about it again.
これを壊してもまたすぐ直してしまうだろう。
And then they will try to fly again. So it doesn't mean anything. Breaking these beautiful wings would be pointless. And at that moment, I realized, so how to get them to stop flying for good? There's another way to make them so that they can't use the runway. The wind blows. And the grass wafts in the blowing winds.
あれさえなければあいつらは
So I'll destroy the wings. I can stop them this time.
どうしたんだい、葵くん。心配そうな顔をして。
So apparently the winds prompted them to go out and check on the glider. And that seems to be perfect because they're about to witness what Tobioka-sensei is going to do with their glider. So maybe a coincidence? I was thinking Tobioka-sensei might break the glider. So they did have some suspicion beforehand. Earlier, I said it's not going to happen. But he tried to demolish the garage once.
何よ、急に怖いこと言わないでよ。ねえ、アゲハどう？グライダー無事？
Kotori asks Ageha who is ahead of us.
だって、あ、シートが剥がれてる。
Hey, look, the sheet's off.
嘘、機体は大丈夫なの？
So how about the body? So I pushed Kotori's wheelchair and ran.
待って待って、見てみる。朝ちゃん、夜ちゃん、手伝って。
So part of the sheet had been taken away and the main wings are uncovered. So Ageha and Asa checks to see that everything looks okay.
どこも問題ないみたい。風で飛ばされたんでしょうか。しっかり結んでおいたはずなのに変ね。
So how would the wind blow this cover off? Because I tightened it very well.
明日もう一度確認しよう。はい、先輩。ねえ、朝あんた目良かったわよね。ええ、いいですよ。数少ない自慢です。あそこ、ウィンチのところ誰かいない？
Okay, it's like, wait a minute. So the glider is okay, but there's something else suspicious going on. So can you see over there? Says Kotori.
どれどれ？あ、いますね、誰か。誰だろう。あんちゃんかな。こんな時間に？
Wait, so why would he be out here in the dark if he's just going to do maintenance? So Asa went close and stared.
何してるんだろう。ウインチのカバーを外そうとしてるみたい。
Okay, I'll go look. So I run to the winch, and when I got closer, I could see somebody is there. And it's not Anchan, but a man. So I can tell from the body type. So this man is holding a long rod and... Wait a minute. So I kicked the ground as I burst into a sprint. It's like, wait a minute, this is not right. So someone is going to destroy the winch. So I dashed to the man as fast as possible. Hey, so what are you doing? I called to him and he looks surprised. But he didn't drop the rod from his hand. He opened the outside casing of the winch and tried to smash the inside. Hey, stop it! And I leapt onto the arm which he was about to strike the winch with. And I think I would manage to get the tool away from the sky. So we were entangled and fell down on the ground. And I got up and drew closer to him. So what are you doing? Wait a minute, you are... And looks like Ageha has caught up to everyone. So Ageha and the others come. I took the rod, a heavy iron stake, and threw it away. And I looked down at the man. Oh, so it's you, Tobioka-sensei. So everyone is surprised and looks at the man, Tobioka-sensei. So why is he here? So what were you doing? Aga said, looking at the winch and the open outside casing. So he's caught red-handed. Tobioka is kneeling on the ground and looking down. And he looks about worriedly and his lips are trembling. And he looks messed up, maybe besides his hair and his clothes are messy. So what are you doing here, Tobioka-sensei? So I wonder how he's going to explain. So Tobioka-sensei didn't answer. And he didn't even look up. So he knows that destroying the winch is like a crime. And And if they report this problem to the school, I'm sure he's going to have to pay for the repair costs. That's given by Anchan and his crew. So Yori picked up the rod that I threw away. So everybody looks surprised. And the tip was a sharp weapon.
ウィンチを壊そうとした。
And now he admits what he was trying to do. So why?
お前たちを飛べなくするためだ。
So I didn't sense any hostility in his voice. He still looks worried and is shaking like he can't believe what he has done.
そんなひどい。
And we couldn't believe it. So, though it wasn't like we hadn't just considered this very scenario, but we didn't think he would actually do it. So it's crazy for a teacher to actually break the winch and destroy it with an iron rod. So do you know what you're doing?
仕方なかったんだ。そうでもしないと。
まさかグライダーのシートが剥がされてたのも。
And we noticed some damage on the glider as well. And I'm sure that's you.
グライダーも壊そうとしたんですか？
それは。
あんたね、先生だかなんだか知らないけど、やっていいことと悪いことがあるでしょ？生徒が自分の思い通りにならないからって、こんなひどいことするなんて。
So Katori spoke sadly, shaking. So Tobioka looks up at Katori and he looks like he's begging for forgiveness. I'm sorry. I was a bad person. I tried to destroy your property. So his hands and knees are shaking so he can't stand up.
違うんだ。俺は。
やっと追いついたぞ。一体どうしたんだ？
And now Amane has finally caught up to everyone. So Tobioka looks sharply at Amane, who just got here.
お前だ。お前が悪いんだ。
It's your fault.
お前が顧問なんて引き受けるから。
So why did you come back to be a teacher?
留年してまで学校に残ったりするから。潔の思いつきを形にしてしまうから。
So Tobioka-sensei mumbles and trails off.
何よそれ、あまねちゃんが悪いって言うの？人のせいにしないでよ。小鳥、落ち着いて。
So just calm down, okay?
一体どういうことなんですか、飛岡先生。
So Ageha asks him calmly, so what are you going to do now?
望月さえいなければ潔は無事卒業できたかもしれない。
Well, that doesn't answer the question. It's like, what will you do now? Or
あんな事故も起こらなかったんだ。
if this didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen. So Amane is confused by his words.
だからなんであまねちゃんのせいになるのよ。
So why is it Amane's fault? And he has no response. So Tobioka shuts his mouth and looks down. And I could see the regret on his face.
俺は1年の頃から潔の担任をしていた。あの子は危うい生徒だった。生まれつき体が弱く学校は休みがち。そのせいか人と違う奇抜なことをしたがる傾向があった。しかしそれも全部ただの思いつき、大した問題にもならなかった。ところが望月と出会ってあいつはそれを実行できるようになってしまった。 グライダーを作って空を飛ぼうなんて馬鹿げたこと。俺には望月が潔のそういう部分を助長しているように見えたんだ。
So she was looking at Tobioka-sensei, confused. And she seems not to understand what he's saying at all.
そもそも俺は望月が嫌いだった。天才だかなんだか知らないが、それで周りのペースを乱す。足並みを揃えることができない。ロボット部の時がそうだった。全国大会で準優勝まで行っておきながら、あっさりとやめてしまった。
Well, that's more Amane's decision. She doesn't want to work in the robotics club anymore.
希望を抱いていた他の部員たちは置き去りだ。
So Tobioka looks frustrated and clenches his fist.
私は
So Amane tried to say something, but she could not come up with the right words and shut her mouth again. So Ageha started talking instead.
そんなのおかしいです。だって先輩のおかげで全国行けて希望を持てて、それで置き去り？翌年も先輩の力で連れて行ってもらいたかったんですか？
それは
違うでしょ。自分たちの力で目指すんじゃないんですか？私ロボット部にいた頃イライラしてました。やれることもっとあるのにやろうとしない部員たちに。人数ばっか多くて、毎年初戦敗退するのが当たり前みたいな顔して。私がソアリング部を選んだのは誰一人誰かに連れてってもらおうなんて思ってないからです。ここにいるみんなは自分と仲間たちの力を合わせてあの雲の向こうまで行きたいってそう思ってるんです。
So everyone nods. Everyone has their own strength and weakness, so it's worth to help each other.
私、自分たちが作った翼が空を飛んだ時感動しました。夜ちゃんと違っていつもドジでダメダメな私だけど、だから嬉しかった。みんなで力を合わせてなんてバカバカしいって思ってたこともあったけど、グライダーが飛んだからって大会で一等賞取れるわけじゃないけど、だからこそ得られるものがあったと思う。
Let's see. So
みんなで力を合わせてなんてバカバカしいって思ってたこともあったけど、意外と悪くなかったわ。
okay. Sasa and Yoru nodded at each other, and they feel the same way.
去年ロボット部で補欠だったアゲハたちが大会に出場した時途中で負けちゃって、みんなすごく悔しそうにしてた。次こそはって言ってまた頑張ってた。
So people who were substitutes at the time became regulars and won the semifinals in the competition this summer. And if they feel as bad as all that when they lose, they're serious about their hobby. So they try to win the competition relying solely on their own strength. And I know feeling that way makes people strong.
そんな理由でアマネちゃんを悪く言うなんて間違ってると思う。
So Tobioka could not say anything to that.
それは
Well, so if you hate the very sight of Amane just because of it,
違う。
no? So what could it be then?
それに私も最初は潔と望月が親しくなったことを喜んでいたんだ。そのおかげで 美咲が退学せずに済んだのだからな。
退学？どういうこと？
美咲は欠席が多いせいか、周囲に馴染めず孤立していた。ある時、ひどい熱で1週間学校を休んだことがあった。出席日数も危うくなり、本人も学校へ行く気力を失いかけていた。何度か相談を受け、親御さんとも話をし、退学する方向へ話が進みかけていた頃だった。
So look at Amane.
知らなかった。イスカが退学しかかっていたなんて。イスカは私に体が弱いことを隠そうとしていたから。
友人ができたおかげで美咲は学校へ戻ってこられた。気力が回復したからだろう。体調もいいようだった。私は担任として遠くからその様子を見守っていた。
So this time Amane and Isuka met was when they became 30 years. So over time they come to be friends.
それの一体何が不満なのよ。
美咲は出会ってしまったんだ。グライダーと。グライダーに興味を持つのはいい。美咲が興味を持っても不思議じゃない。けれど実際に飛ぼうなどとする子じゃなかった。何か起こってからでは遅いと私は反対した。だが他の先生方は望月に甘かった。
Let's see. Let's go back a little bit.
けれど実際に飛ぼうなどとする子じゃなかった。望月さえいなければ。
Okay.
お前の言うこと、やりたいこと、大抵が許された。
And then Tobioka stares at her. But, it's wrong to blame her because of that. So it was the teacher's fault that they were partial to Amane. So they are all grown-ups. And why is Amane, who was still a child at that time, blamed on for something adults did?
それで済んでいればな。だが、そうはならなかった。美咲たちが4年生の夏休み、あの事故が起こった。美咲は焦っているようだった。望月が大学編入を拒んだせいで、ソアリング部への風当たりが強くなっていたからだ。それで早く成果を出そうとしていたんだろう。不完全なままテストフライトを行って。
So Amane tried to figure out what happened and her face stiffened with tension. So what happened then?
フライトそのものは問題なかったそうだ。ただ、着陸の際に操縦を誤り、主翼を地面にこすって、そのまま地面に叩きつけられた。
So remember, the wings, during the time of the accident, there were cracks on it. And that makes it not airworthy. But that didn't stop Isuka from doing it anyways. So the wings hit the ground. It's easy to imagine.
それでイスカは
病院へ運ばれたが、命に別状はなかった。ただ、複数の骨折とショックによる発熱とで、数日入院しなければならなかった。
そうだったんですか。
So Amane whispered absentmindedly, hearing for the first time about the accident. She sounded surprised about the inquiry, but also relieved because Isuka is okay. So why didn't you tell us about the accident then?
美咲のご両親からの強い要望だ。
At the request of her parents. So what does he mean?
美咲の父親は慶風学園の理事であり、いわゆる地元の名士だ。 外文を気にしたんだろ
So basically for PR reasons.
う。幸い事故は夏休みの人の少ない時期に起きた。要望というのは建前で、要するにもみ消すように指示されたんだ。
どうしてそんなこと。意味わかんない。
So Amane couldn't really speak. So after that, Isuka dropped out of school, didn't she? So why was that? Was it because her injury?
怪我も原因の一つではあるが、もともと潔の家は厳しくてな。娘を自由に遊ばせておくのは良くないと考えたようだ。親子関係もうまくいっていなかったようだし、あの子の意思に関係なく退学させられた。
So that's why we could not find her. So Anchan and Amane tried to find her, but they couldn't. And I think they're also informed not to disclose anything about Isuka as well. Well, maybe that was the dorm mother for the Flying Fish Manor, the old one, before Aoi took over. There you go. So the owner of the Flying Fish Manor was not allowed to say anything about it. And they could easily cover it up because her father is a chairman of the school board and is famous.
だから、あまねちゃんに何も言わずに去っていってしまったのね。でもそれじゃ、あまねちゃんのせいじゃないじゃない。なのにあなたは逆恨みして、あまねちゃんやソアリング部に嫌がらせしてたわけ？
Well, that is wrong. Kotori blames Tobioka-sensei. And Kotori spoke for us. And then Tobioka-sensei started shaking and kneeling down on the ground.
それもある。だが、
So, but what? Tobioka could not continue. And now he's crying. So he couldn't speak because he is crying. Okay? And tears were coming from Tobioka's eyes.
すまん、望月。
So suddenly Tobioka kneels down on the ground and apologizes to Amane.
なんですか、飛岡先生。
私はお前に黙っていたことがある。
黙っていたこと？
So what have you been hiding from me? So Tobioka's forehead almost touches the ground. And then...
預かったんだ。手紙を。
So I got another letter for you.
潔が退院し、退学する際に手紙を預かっていたんだ。お前に渡してほしいって。
So Amane is overcome with surprise. And that was something she never expected to hear.
手紙。
今まで渡せずにいた。すまん。
So Tobioka barely got those words out and then cried from on the ground. Okay, so it was rain that day. So the problem I see with this is that Tobioka's blaming Amane for all the problems that he has failed in. It's like, one, you influenced Isuka in a bad way, and two, you left the Robotics Club hanging even though we almost won. But then again, it's Amane's decision if she wants to stay in the Robotics Club. And also, for Isuka, the thing was that Isuka wanted to fly on her own. And the school just gave Amane a favorable treatment. So anyways, let's see. So it was raining that day.
いいっすか？
So I turned to the dimly lit garage and called out, but there was no reply. Okay, so we're back in the memories. So like noise, the sound of the rain hitting the roof dulled my thoughts.
ないのか。
So all that was waiting for me when I returned home was an empty garage and a broken glider.
主翼が折れてる。それにボディも。
So from the condition of the glider, I could easily imagine what happened.
イスカ、イスカ。
So I called out my best friend's name, but there is no reply. And what could possibly have happened? So Isuka's alright, and all kinds of ideas come up and spin in my head. So I searched for the desk and for anything that looked like a letter left behind, but I can't find anything. And instead,
写真がなくなってる。
so no picture either. So the picture with the clouds was missing from the picture frame. And a broken glider and an empty picture frame. And those were the only traces left behind. But at the time, I didn't give it much thought. Well, that's because even more than that, there was something else that I really had to worry about. So what was it?
イスカ。
So where's Isuka? I rushed out of the garage to see Isuka. Outside was the dreadful rain that seemed to follow me everywhere. And I never even thought that I would not be able to see Isuka again. And when I realized that, my world lost its color again. And just as forecasted, it rained the next day, and it looks like a pretty light, not so severe rain. So the ever-present miserable rain.
あまねちゃん、どう？
Well, it's no good. So once she shuts herself in her room, she won't come out. So Maya stays shut in her room and wouldn't reply even if you called out for her. And the food that was set up in front of her door is untouched.
ショックなことが書いてあったのね、きっと。
Yeah. So early this morning, Tobioka-sensei visited the Flying Fish Manor in the middle of the rain. And he came to give Amane a letter.
これがその手紙だ。
Here you go.
これがイスカの。
So Amane took the envelope with the letter from Tobioka-sensei.
何が書いてあるかは知らない。
I didn't read it. The seal had not been broken.
どうしてすぐに渡してくれなかったんでしょうか。
ミサギのご両親からお前とミサギを二度と会わせないよう言われていたからだ。私もそうするべきだと。これをお前に渡すことでお前にもミサギにも良い影響があるとは思えなかった。
そうですか。
すぐに忘れるだろうと思っていたんだ。
Well, that's pretty hard based on what we've seen with how Amane sees Isuka.
若い連中の気持ちは移ろいやすい。すぐにまた新しいことを始めて。
Well, we thought you would forget about it.
新しい友人とも出会って、ミサギもお前も忘れるだろうって。それが一番いいと思っていたんだ。
So Tobioka dropped the umbrella from the limp hand at the entrance of the door, and exposing himself to the great, ever-present rain. Oh, so Tobioka-sensei, please come in. And walking from a little ways away, I urged him without thinking, but Tobioka didn't move, so it as if he hadn't heard me at all. So the rain continues to get Tobioka's clothes wet.
それなのにお前はやめなかった。あの薄暗いガレージにこもり続け、グライダーを作り続けた。
So there was a hint of disapproval in Tobioka's voice, and his glance seemed to be directed at Amane.
留年までしてお前は。
So it felt like those words were directed towards himself.
だんだんと重荷になっていった。その手紙を預かり渡さなかったことが。
Well, it is kind of my fault.
だから私はお前たちを憎むことで。
So Tobioka might have been crying, but with the rain, you couldn't see any tears.
すまなかった。
And soaking wet, Tobioka apologizes. And the sight of the remorseful and crying teacher bowing his head to students seemed really awkward. But in some way, he looked relieved. Like a weight that he had been carrying for several years has finally been lifted from his shoulders. So Amane opens Isuka's letter immediately after Tobioka leaves. Okay, so this is a good place to stop. And I'm sure in the next episode we're going to see what the letter reads and what got Amane to be all upset that she refuses to come out. So the problem is that it looks like Tobioka-sensei and Isuka's parents blame Amane for everything. It's like, well, she is weak, and there are many things that she can't do, but thanks to Amane gave Isuka all this false hope that, oh, I can go fly, I can still make my dreams come true. And they think that is what led to the accident at the end. And also, I really feel that Tobioka-sensei needs to focus on fixing the problem with the Robotics Club rather than blaming smart people for leaving, like Amane and Ageha. It's like, oh, so we didn't win the competition. And the people resigning is kind of showing like, well, they have no responsibility for the loss, and they just leave all these people behind. But then Ageha's like, well, the problem is that there's no teamwork or cooperation in the Robotics Club. It's just one person doing everything. And if that person leaves, then the rest of the people don't have any idea about how to proceed without this one talented leader. Whereas in the Soaring Club's like, well, we all work together, we all know what's going on. And if one person leaves, we can still continue our work despite this one person being absent, no matter how excellent that person is. So, with all that in mind, I'll see you in the next episode.